And what is up, boys and girls, for Thursday night, August 14th, 2014? It's your pal right here, the one and only Black Avenger, a.k.a. the Black Azrael, Lee Sanders, and you are checking out an all-new Impact Showdown, episode 114, coming at you this Thursday night. It's our final time being on Thursdays. I'm a little bit sad. I gotta be brutally honest with you all because for at least, my God, it's so funny when I reflect on it, but we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But this is our final Thursday night edition of Impact Showdown, as we are going to be moving to Wednesday nights, as it's been a pretty big day for TNA Wrestling. In case you had, the new is going to be moving to Wednesdays, effective next Wednesday, which will be August the 20th. For those of you that did not watch TNA Impact Wrestling tonight and you don't even know what's been going on the wrestling beat, we definitely got to make sure we get that out the way and early right now so that those of you can go back, try to maybe... I wonder if you have to set your DVRs if a show is changing day, but it's still keeping the same time. I wonder how that goes. I guess we'll all find out together, right? Right? I mean, I'm going to take the risk just to see what the hell happens if you don't change the settings on the DVR. But yeah, they're going to be making the move. We talked about this move in depth for about 20 minutes earlier tonight. If you guys didn't check that out, after you get done with this, definitely pick you on back and check it out. I made a lot of very good points in favor of TNA Wrestling making this move, explaining why I feel it's a very smart move, but at the same time I feel that this may be TNA's one last shot, really, to try to see if they can secure some type of a deal with Spike TV. And check it out. That's a little tease for you guys right there. I bring up a lot of very valid points. Meantime, we're talking fallout from tonight's edition of Impact Wrestling. If you're looking for actual fallout, you can check it out on their YouTube channel at TNA Impact Wrestling. As that YouTube song goes, if you still can't find what you're looking for, you can always go to impactwrestling.com and you can see photos, video exclusives, and the works. As always, I want to get you guys involved, so feel free to post those comments down below. I'm keeping it very simple tonight. I am only going to be paying attention to what y'all have to say by posting your comments down below. Those of you that maybe want to hit us up on Twitter and Facebook, we're just going to let that be on ice tonight. But I will say this, for those of you that will be checking this out on the downloads, you can definitely hit us up on Twitter and Facebook. All the links you need is in this episode description. So without any further ado, let's go on ahead and let's have at it. So this was the final TNA Impact Wrestling on Spike TV, at least as far as Thursday nights go. And you know what? They went out on a very strong note because everything that they did tonight, which I gotta say this off the break, very solid wrestling. I really mean that, most sincerely. Very solid wrestling that we had throughout the course of the night, as they were really just trying to do what they could with the few little storylines that they did bring up on this installment. It was basically a setup for the free pay-per-view event that's going to be on Spike TV next week, dubbed as Hardcore Justice. And, you know, I like how the show had pretty much opened up with Bully Ray, Devon, Bully Ray very ecstatic at the fact that he finally was able to get his hands on the TNA president, Dixie Carter, and he was able to put her through that table. Now, look, we all know, let's be for real, Bully Ray, he did a hell of a job in protecting Dixie, at least to a certain extent. I mean, it was mainly his rear end that had went through the table, not so much as Dixie, but she did legitimately get a little bit of, I guess you could say, a little bit of whiplash in the neck area. Anybody that has seen this footage repeatedly now, you know the way her head just kind of bounced off the canvas a little bit. It's kind of safe to say somewhere between the head and the neck, back of the neck at that, she definitely has sustained some type of a injury. I love Bully Ray coming out, though, and relishing over it, saying none of it wouldn't have been possible if it wasn't for the great crowd that was there at the Manhattan Center past several weeks. Also, if it wasn't for Devon, his brother in arms, and I just love the way he had really put him over, because the way he did it and setting it up, he basically had talked about there wouldn't have been uh, a hawk if there wasn't an animal. You know, he was mentioning those wrestling nostalgia references, if you will. I actually could not recall the other names that he had mentioned, as I was doing a lot of multitasking. But just basically, it was a nice setup on how he had introduced Devon. Devon had came in. They really weren't able to relish in it that long, just the two of them together. I like how, by the way, Bully Ray didn't even give a nod to Al Snow or Tommy Dreamer. It was like, hey, now it wasn't you two guys that got it done. You all had some help with those guys I just mentioned. Not to mention, when it counted the most, the TNA locker room came out because they wanted to make sure that Dixie Carter got hers. All right, so there was a little bit of help from more than just one person, as it kind of felt it was coming off. I don't know if you guys really read into it like that. For me, I wasn't nitpicking. It was just freestyle thinking as I was just seeing all this display. Then we see the Hardys come out. Hardys, they had put the Dudleys over. And, the main thing that TNA was driving home right here with the commentators was the fact that we had not seen the Hardys take on the Dudleys in 12 years. Now, if you follow independent wrestling like that, which 9 times out of 10 you probably do, especially if you love all things wrestling, I'm assuming and I'm hoping that you do follow all things wrestling and you check out as many promotions as you can, then you would know that the Hardys and the Dudleys, over the years, they've done some stuff on the independent circuit. This is just really the first time in 12 years, legitimately, that we have not seen them perform on a national TV level. So you kind of see where this was going, right, guys? Yeah, you guessed it right. We had saw the Hardys basically issue a challenge to the Dudleys one more time. And, just seeing all four of these guys in the ring at the same time, it made me feel hardcore nostalgia, like to no end, just to see all four of those guys in the ring and just to hear about the history that all these men had together, them basically giving us the first TLC match and all that, doing the tables, and I mean, my God, so many great memories. I really felt like the hands of time slowed down for this particular segment. I thought that we were going back to the early 2000s again when I saw these four guys. I could only imagine how it was for that casual wrestling fan that just once in a blue moon is flipping the channels looking for Impact channel it's on, and they probably thought they were watching something from the WWE, but it was actually TNA wrestling. I mean, just hardcore nostalgia right there. I'm not going to fake. I definitely marked out seeing all four of those guys in there. It was a great spot. And by the way, that was a very solid main event match. We might as well talk about that main event match right now. Yeah, believe it or not, that was what had closed out the show, not the TNA World Heavyweight Champion Bobby Lashley, although he did see some action on this edition of Impact Wrestling. Great main event match between the Hardys and the Dudleys. My God, speechless. Let me tell you something. Match was so good, I felt when we are done doing this here, I'm definitely going to be kicking back and I'm going to be watching it again. That's just how much I had really enjoyed that match. Both of these teams just really, it's so funny too, because it's not like these tag teams hook up like that on the independent circuits. It's like off and on, but it just felt like there was the best way I can describe it's like an old car that you used to drive for a long period of time, Then you say to yourself, okay, it's really time to move on and get a new vehicle because this one, it's kind of starting to break down just a little bit. It costs a lot to try to keep the upkeep going, get the replacement parts and all that. You don't want to get rid of the car because it's still a beauty. You've had a lot of great memories in it. You love it. So you keep it around in the garage, you cover it up, and maybe once in a blue moon when you can, you go on ahead, you hook it up. You do a little Tim the Toolman Taylor. Remember what he used to do on Home Improvement there with his little hot rods over several courses of seasons? He would hook them up and all that. It's kind of like one of those type of deals. You got your new car and all that, but every once in a blue moon, you just gravitate towards that old car and you get in there, you sit in it, and it's just the memories come back. You start that engine and you're like, oh, still got it, still got it. Everything just still feels good, and that's the best way I can describe this match between the Hardys and Team 3D. It was just one of those type of matches where you just couldn't help but feel really great nostalgia. And I think just the fact that these guys knew that they were going to be performing on a national TV level had really, I think, heightened their senses even more, to the point that they made sure that they really delivered a very classic matchup right here. And there was two things that was going on in my mind as this match was coming about. Number one, and just to get this out the way, the Dudleys, cleanly, no cheating, none of that crap done. We saw Team 3D, or the Dudley Boys. I'm going to call them the Dudley Boys so I don't keep getting myself confused. They had picked up the win over the Hardys. Post-match, really great spot as all four of them shook hands, raised each other's hands up high. Great little spot right there. I couldn't help but say to myself at one point, is some type of a angle getting ready to play out where maybe Devon is possibly going to turn on Bully Ray? Because it didn't really dawn on me until during the match. It's like, Devon's been really quiet since he's been back. He's just been showing up here and there, not really saying too much, just doing his thing in the ring and all that. All right, is something on the horizon here? What exactly is going on? That's just the vibe that I was getting. I was just getting this honest vibe that Devon was going to be turning on Bully Ray. And I don't know, maybe I'm on to something. Usually when my spidey sense tingles, it's usually a good sign. So I don't know if there is going to be some type of turning. Maybe it's going to be maybe after Bound for Glory. Who knows? But after I shook that off, the other thing I had going on in the back of my mind was the brief spot that we had saw of the Wolves. As leading up to that main event match, the Wolves had cut this really good promo. They basically had said, look, we had a really great match against the Hardys, one of the best tag teams that's around. Like many of the fans in attendance and that's going to be watching at home, we're going to be paying attention to this match between the Hardys and the Hardy Boys and the Dudleys, because, quite honestly, look, we've already taken on the Hardys, so Dudley Boys, we really would be honored if we could cross paths with you all and have a tag match. Basically, these guys are looking to prove their value, prove that they really are legitimately the top dogs in the tag team division and all that. So you kind of saw those seeds being planted. You're kind of saying to yourself, well, is this maybe a scenario that's going to culminate in these two tag teams getting it on at Bound for Glory? I mean, that's just the honest vibe that I'm kind of getting from that. Then again, there's no telling what could possibly happen with the second batch of New York City shows that's going to be coming up. They've already taped them. They're out the way. I've heard now, I can't verify it just yet. I do know this much. Pending money has been put in place for more dates at that Manhattan Center. Whether or not TNA is going to pull the trigger and actually go back for another round, that remains to be seen. However, there were some New York shows that were canceled. Whether or not it was the Manhattan Center, I don't know yet. We'll actually find out about it together, as I had quickly saved it in my notes to share with you guys on tonight's show. What I want to do right now, for those of you that's going to be checking out the recording of this, you're going to see an ad break play right about now. Hang tight. We're going to come on back, and we'll continue the discussion of tonight's fallout from TNA Impact Wrestling for August 14th, 2014. My good friends, you are checking out Impact Showdown. We'll be coming right back. And we are back. All right, we're talking fallout from TNA Impact Wrestling, and other than that great main event match, don't get me wrong, rest of the night, the wrestling was actually pretty damn solid. I'm actually sticking to it tonight. I really did not see anything that was extremely weak. There wasn't anything that I felt, okay, TNA could have did without this particular match this week. On the contrary, every single match, very short matches too, if I'm not mistaken. Total, we had, we had five matches total. I love the scramble match. That was a X Division match, as we had saw Low Key defeat DJZ, Crazy Steve, Tigre Uno, Manic, and Homicide. Yes, Low Key picking up the victory there to advance. He's now the new #1 contender. He is going to be taking on Samoa Joe at next week's Hardcore Justice for the X Division title. My God, man, what can you say about that opening match? I mean, that really had set the tone for what was going to be a really great night of wrestling, I feel, when you look back on it. That was a very, very strong match. The guys that shine the most out of that match, definitely, I would have to say Low Key. Second place, I got to give it up to Homicide. That might be mainly because I've always been a Homicide fan, like especially like as far back to the days of LAX and all that. But see, the version of LAX that I enjoyed the most, some of you guys may disagree with me on this. You may just liked it when it was just Homicide and Big Super Mex Hernandez. But I liked it when they added former WWE Diva Ariel, and they had Hector Guerrero in there. I liked it when it was that little stable that was going on right there, and they were just going around. Oh, I almost forgot. Let's not also forget when God, I can't think of his name right now. Conan. When Conan was involved with them too. For me, that was like the best time. That LAX was like, shit, okay, okay, I can't say that too loud. The bomb, that's the best way I can put it. But yeah, I've always been a Homicide fan, so for me, I definitely was very pleased with the performance of Homicide, because I hadn't seen him wrestle on a national level past couple of years. I usually just hear about what he's been doing on the independent circuit. So for me to see him tonight, this was actually my first time seeing him in a good amount of years. And it was like, okay, he still got it. He's still moving. He's picked up a little bit of weight, not in a bad way, kind of like in a good way. He's picked up a little bit of body mass, like a little bit of bulk. And I actually think that's good. I think it looks good on him. Third person I was actually pleased with actually goes to Manic. Manic had a couple of little nice spots in there. I was kind of cringing when I first saw this match, because I'm saying to myself, okay, they're not going to give this match enough proper time. It's basically going to be like a spot fest, and it's like every 3 minutes somebody's going to do a spot, and that's pretty much going to be. It wasn't even like that at all. It was actually some straight up decent wrestling, technical wrestling at that. That was in this match, so really loved that. No complaints about that match whatsoever. Somebody on our Facebook page had brought up a very good point when they had saw Ethan Carter III, Rhino, Rockstar Spud appear in the ring, as they had a short talking segment. They basically had demanded that Kurt Angle does what he needs to do with his new power as a TNA executive and fire Bully Ray for physically putting his hands on his Aunt Dixie, putting her through the table, at which Kurt Angle came out and he basically gave the trio two options: either they wrestle or get the hell out of his ring. They would not oblige, so Kurt Angle, he had no choice but to call some of New York's finest down to escort them out of the arena. And we actually saw Rockstar Spud, like a little ferret, I tell you. Those ferrets, they can get a little bit mean-spirited from time to time if you keep poking them just right. Trust me, I know. Years back, by the way, I know the hard way. We had saw Rockstar Spud trying to basically pull a NWA and F the police, if you will. And they quickly took him down to the ground. Afterwards, Rhino, he had also got handcuffed. EC3 tried to buy his way out of this little jam that he was getting himself involved in. All three of those guys, we saw them get put in handcuffs. They were taken outside the arena. EC3, one more time, he tried to bribe the cops, but they weren't having it. They basically got taken down to the slammer. And one thing, EC3, his promos, I'm telling you, I can't praise this man enough. This man has just been coming along very nicely. See, I'm nice. When TNA does right, I give them their praise. When they do wrong, of course, I also get on them, but I love to try to keep it be as positive as possible when I see that they're doing right. And just the continued evolution of EC3, I mean, he's really earning his keep there in those dominant spots on Impact Wrestling. I mean, that's one guy, it's safe to say, I can't think of a week that hasn't gone by where we didn't see EC3. It's like a rarity now that he's not on there. So great little spot right there. Somebody brought up a very interesting point as they were seeing this segment play out. They said that, wait a minute now, so Stephanie McMahon had Brie Bella arrested, or correction, Brie Bella had got Stephanie McMahon arrested, and then like 2 weeks later, Stephanie informs Brie that she's getting arrested because the girl that Brie attacked this past Monday night decided to press charges on her. Oh, wait for TNA to rip one from the WWE. Now, see, it's that type of mentality that unfortunately I'm going to have to say, my friend, or people that think that way, you're sadly wrong. You need to remember what you're watching right now of TNA Impact Wrestling. This all was taped back in June. You know WWE, they usually do their stuff like on a week-to-week basis. You know, sometimes they've got some angles that's played out already that they want to see go for a couple of weeks or whatever, or in setting up one event to take them to the next pay-per-view and all that. But TNA, they had this whole stuff already locked, put it in the crates, ship it on off. You know, they've had the advantage since June. So, you know, if anything, the argument could be made that maybe WWE was trying to take one or two headlines from TNA's playbook and try to do their own little unique spin to it. So, you know, I just wish that every single time somebody sees something inconsistent with one promotion, I wish there would just stop being comparisons, because as long as wrestling has been around, people have been taking little elements, little key story arcs, and they've been trying to do their own little unique spin to it. I mean, you go to the NWO, everybody gives all this great praise of the NWO. Not to get sidetracked, but let's be for real. Everybody wants to talk about the NWO, but if you really know your history like that, Eric Bischoff and crew, what stable did they rip off to basically make the NWO happen? They made a few tweaks here and there, but just the concept itself, who did they take that from? answer that question amongst yourselves. You don't need to answer that to me. You should already know. And if you don't know, after this is over, go educate yourself, because we'd be doing like an entirely different show if I were to talk in great detail about that. But everybody borrows something for everybody. My whole thing is I just wish sometimes we all, as wrestling fans, would just be like, okay, it kind of looks like they're getting ready to do their own interpretation of this that has been seen in this promotion and this promotion and this promotion. All right, well, let's see what they can do with it. I'll give them a couple of weeks, and if it doesn't look like it's going anywhere, I'm definitely going to speak my piece on it. I wish we could just kick back and just wait, you know. Um, Same thing can be said for when Bobby Lashley had saw the creation, it looked like, of the Xavier Woods stable, as I was referring to it, the X-Men. He kind of felt as though WWE was ripping a page out of TNA's playbook as, hey, well, me, Bobby Lashley, I'm already teaming up with MVP and Kenny King, and look at what WWE's trying to do over here. What the hell? And unfortunately, that never did really take off the way it's supposed to. It looks like they've abandoned that now. I guess they just didn't see anything worthwhile to make it continue. But that's just my thoughts on that. I didn't really mean to get sidetracked, but I just wanted to bring that point up because when I first read it, I was like, okay, that comment is so wrong because these guys, we're watching stuff from back in June. It's like, how the hell can they be, just like what they were doing with these shows the first week of August. Unfortunately, we're not going to get to see these shows probably not until maybe mid to late September, maybe early October, and we'll get to see these shows. Other action, we had saw Anderson had defeated Gunner via disqualification. This was pretty much as a result of Samuel Shaw, the former creepy bastard coming out, felt as though he needed to come to Gunner's aid, even though it kind of looked as though Gunner was holding his own pretty well during this match. Samuel Shaw felt as though he had to come and help his friend out. I'm very curious what type of communication is going to be coming down between these two guys on next week's Hardcore Justice special, because now you got Samuel Shaw in there. He's kind of, and I think it's really nice how TNA Wrestling has just been continuing this story arc right here. Out of all the story arcs that they have going on, this is definitely one of my top 4 that I enjoy, because I believe they're really telling a great story that you can really get behind. They're giving you something to look forward to, little pieces of crumbs that just make you, okay, so now what's going to happen? You got this new little element. Okay, now what's going on? And I just love how the TNA writers have basically taken the Samuel Shaw character, and at least for now, the way it's looking, Samuel Shaw is no longer obsessed with Christy Hemme, because he now has a new individual. He now has a new objective. He now has a new fascination, if you will, and that's with Gunner. So I like the way that's playing out right there, because this is really playing out just as I said it a couple of weeks ago. And if you've been checking out Impact Showdown this long, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. I said a good while back that this is probably going to culminate and Gunner and Samuel Shaw fighting one another, because that line is just going to get crossed where Gunner's going to be like, look, man, I don't need you to come out and fight my battles. If I tell you I got this, stay in the back, I got this. I can definitely see that line getting crossed where Samuel Shaw's like, hey, I thought we were friends. I thought we kind of, had that connection. I thought you understood me, Gunner. You said you understood me. You said we were friends. So I definitely see the route that it's going. The only thing is, how are you going to get to that point? I think, unfortunately, Mr. Anderson is going to have to be the sacrificial lamb. And basically it ends in a way where Gunner is going to be like, damn, Anderson, you were right the whole time. But it kind of reminds me of that Van Damme movie. No, not Rob Van Dam. I'm talking about John Claude Van Damme. I think it was Kickboxer, where one of his friends, he like got the crap beaten out of him. I might have my movies mixed up, so don't bash me now, because it's been a while since I've watched a Van Damme flick. But I want to say it was Kickboxer. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't even think it was Kickboxer. But if you know your Van Damme movies, you know the one I'm talking about. His buddy got messed up real bad. He was put in the hospital and all that. And, he's basically trying to fight for his honor and all that. I kind of see something like that playing about with Gunner and Shaw. How many more weeks is it going to take? Honestly, TNA could continue this route for as long as they want. They can do this. Honestly, if they do it right, they could actually have Gunner and Samuel Shaw collide at Bound for Glory. I think that should be the finish line. What do you guys think? Post your comments below. I still think they need to get that Melendez guy that they just signed, who is said he made his TNA debut during last week's TNA tapings in New York. I would still like to see a scenario play out where they get him involved in all that because of that whole military background. I'd like to see him and Gunner kind of have that new friendly bond that we were talking about a couple of weeks ago. If you missed that, probably this weekend I'll have an excerpt be available on that. All right, let's do this right about now. It's time for us to take another ad break. So for those of you that's going to be checking out this recording, just hang tight. All right, and when we come on back, we're going to continue the discussion of TNA Impact Wrestling. Not really that much else to talk about. Really great Knockouts match for the Knockouts title that we need to talk about. We also got some TNA headlines to share with you guys. So stick around. We're still just getting started over here. You're checking out Impact Showdown for August 14th, 2014. We'll be coming right back. And we are back. All right, we're talking fallout from TNA Impact Wrestling. 2 more matches to talk about. First off, how about the Knockouts match between Gail Kim, Velvet Sky, Angelina Love, Taryn Terrell. Woo! Man, when the Knockouts are on, do not talk to me. I just want to kick back and I want to enjoy. Plain and simple. I just want to enjoy, man. Oh, man, we briefly talked about it last week. As I had said to you guys, I didn't check out the spoilers for this episode that came on tonight, but I had said, look for some type of seeds being planted, of friction, if you will, between Velvet Sky, Angelina Love, because now you got the Knockouts title on the line. Velvet Sky is probably going to kind of realize, hey, I have an opportunity right here to be the Knockouts champion again. I'm going to make sure I take advantage of that opportunity. All of those seeds were kind of planted there of Velvet Sky kind of beginning to get to that point where she's saying to herself, you know what, I think Angelina Love is just using me as a laggy. I think she's just using me to do everything in my power to help her become Knockouts champion, and then that's going to have her piggyback to when Angelina Love was the Knockouts champion, and that basically Angelina only had the title for as long as she did was because Velvet kept bailing her ass out. So it was definitely no shock, a no-brainer to me to see Velvet Sky have a couple of golden opportunities where she could have gone for the pin, in which she did. You're thinking possibly a new Knockouts champion is going to get crowned in Velvet Sky. Angelina Love yanks her off, yells at her, demands what she's doing and all that. We see them kind of arguing back and forth, but we never really see them just full-blown go at it physically. And honestly, smart move right there. Why have it all explode right there in just that one match when you just began planting the seeds for it on the previous episode? Let it continue. Continue it for a couple of more weeks. If they do it right at this rate, in about maybe 3 more weeks, they can really just open this up and have it explode, because there's 2 directions that you all should really be hip to as far as Bound for Glory goes. two knockout matches at that I think we could possibly see at Bound for Glory. One of those could be Velvet Sky taking on Angelina Love. If they do it right, I don't know how much patience TNA has, if they even want to, or if they're just going to try to put in all the stops and try to milk those TV ratings, try to do as much as they can. Hopefully, they, and of course, although it would be nice to have a longer term program, at the same time, will the fans really be into it? Case in point, as good as that match was between Gunner and Anderson, I don't know if the fans were really aware of where they were, at least some of them, but we heard Sami Zayn chants, um, and we heard um, Adam Rose little theme song. When Samuel Shaw came out, there was even a thank you Dexter chant. Now, for those of you that don't know any of the names that I just mentioned, the Adam Rose, Sami Zayn, aka El Generico, those guys are now working in WWE. For the longest time, they were involved in the indie circuit. They're now in WWE's developmental division. They're down in NXT. And Dexter, it has to do with this serial killer long time cable show that was on Showtime. I think it finally ended like maybe last year or something like that. I could never really get into it. So, but that's your information right there. For those of you that was like, what's all these names you're throwing out there? I don't understand. But obviously the fans weren't really into the match like that. I thought it was a good match between Gunner and Anderson. But then you go to Taryn, Velvet, Angelina, Gail, and at a couple of points you heard the fans chant something Divas, let's go Divas, or whatever like that. So there was a little more than one WWE reference on this show, and it just really kind of made me question the audience that was there in attendance, because it's one thing, if you're bored with the match and you don't really want to be disrespectful and everything, then maybe not say anything, don't give any reaction at all. But I'm just trying to wrap my brain around this. Maybe you guys can help me out here, because you paid to go see TNA wrestlers at this event, yet you're making WWE chants. I just don't understand that, for the love of me. It's like, forgive me, but it just comes off stupid. I mean, it would basically be like me going to a Metallica concert, and there's like a couple of songs that they're playing that I don't really like, and all of a sudden I just start chanting, Backstreet Boys, Backstreet Boys, Backstreet Boys, and it's kind of like, dude, you realize you're at a Metallica concert, right? You know you're not going to see Backstreet. It's like, why are you're coming off like an idiot. Just, what if you don't like, just go leave. I just really couldn't understand the references there that they made. Now, look, if I'm not mistaken, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, I believe briefly El Generico did come through TNA Wrestling. Adam Rose, no. As far as I know, no. So I can kind of tolerate the El Generico thing, but the other stuff and the diva chat and all that, I just really don't get that. I really don't. But with regards to Velvet Sky and Angelina Love, if the fans can be won with what could potentially be a really good matchup between these two girls, if they're really behind it, then the trigger could get pulled at Bound for Glory for these two girls to go at it. Otherwise, I think the next couple of weeks, even though it's taped, it's really gonna let us know where exactly they're gonna be going with those two girls. Because honestly, I'm seeing at Bound for Glory a new Knockouts champion crowned. I think Gail is going to hold on to that belt long enough just to pass it on to Taryn Terrell. I think that's pretty much going to be the big payoff. What do you guys think about that? Post those comments down below. Let me know. If you're enjoying Impact Showdown so far, as we're recapping Fallout for Impact Wrestling, do me a huge favor. Make sure you give this piece a thumbs up. You can also share it a number of ways. Google Plusing it, Facebooking it, retweeting it, as it's one of the many ways you can spread a good word about our content. We saw the team of Bobby Lashley, MVP, Kenny King, picking up the victory over Eric Young, Bobby Roode, Austin Aries, despite the fact that it seemed like EY, Rude, Aries, they were really having some really good chemistry going on from the moment that we saw them in a backstage segment, as they all were looking on their phones of Dixie Carter going through the table, and they were snickering and sharing a nice cool moment together. It seemed like they were clicking really well right there. You know, as I was watching their chemistry in that backstage segment, and then I watched their chemistry in the ring, I couldn't help but say to myself, my God, TNA Wrestling, if they do this right, they got themselves a nice little new stable right there if they really wanted to, if they want to go there. I mean, we all remember Bobby Roode when he teamed up with Austin Aries, and you know, that was pretty good. I feel that it didn't really live up to its truest potential. But, you know, I think TNA Creative, I think they inadvertently might have created something here. And having these guys team up and all that, I would hope that they really look into this and explore it even more, because those are some really good personalities that you got going on right there. You've got EY, who is just this abstract. He's just very loud. He's just full of freaking energy. And then you go to Austin Aries, who's just, he's so cool, a little arrogant. He always feels he has that chip on his shoulders to prove why he's simply the best wrestler there is in the world. And then you go to Bobby Roode. He feels he's that it factor. He's on this new path. It comes off to me of redemption, if you will, where, you know, he's looking to taste the TNA championship again, but it kind of seems like he's now at a new crossroads in his life, where the way he operated in the past, I guess for now he's kind of realizing that, you know, it's a little bit messed up how he operated, and he's seen the light. Praise glory. You know, that's basically the vibe I'm kind of getting from him. Meanwhile, we saw a really good promo, or vignette, if you will, of Cowboy James Storm, who somewhere in a remote location is going deliverance on Sonata, as Sonata no shirt on. I believe he had pants on. I hope he had pants on. It looked like he was tied to a post inside of a shed. As well, I just feel sorry for Sonata. That's all I gotta say. I'm leaving that alone. I know you guys probably want me to be serious and really talk about that, but when you show me a man half naked, tied up to a pole in some man's shed in a remote location, all I think about is Deliverance, and I just pictured Ned Beatty, squeal, piggy, squeal, squeal, squeal. If you don't know about Deliverance, first off, be over the age of 16, because that movie is going to warp your mind the hell out. It gives you new meaning to camping with friends. Personally, you'll never see my ass camp, okay? Black people don't camp, and if they do camp, well, they're stupid. I know I'm not camping, but in either case, that's it. There was one other honorable mention to talk about as it was setting up Hardcore Justice for next week. Saw this really cool exchange of words between Abyss and Brahm. Abyss basically wants Janice back, his weapon. Brahm's basically telling him, no, you can't have it back. She's doing more good for me than she ever has for you, yada, yada, yada. Basically, this had set up a match where we're going to be seeing everything in the kitchen sink that's going to be used, including a ladder where hanging over the top of the ladder is going to be Janice. Whoever grabs it, they can just unleash all holy hell on their opponent with it. They are calling this match the Stairway to Janice. Sounds like somebody's been listening to too much Led Zeppelin, but hey, it's all good. Stairway to Janice. Overall, though, I would have to say that, again, TNA Wrestling, and I really got to make sure I do a really good job in putting them over. They did a very solid job with this show. Um, just production value wise, I mean, from the top of the start of the show to the end, everything was just really on point. It didn't really feel mediocre. If anything, if I really had to nitpick, I wish a little bit more wrestling would have been crammed, because if I'm not mistaken, I believe there was only 2 matches in the first hour. So that for me was kind of just a little bit, because I think it was 2 matches for sure in the first hour, and then maybe we got to see introductions for, I think it was the Knockouts match. Was it the, no, wait a minute, was it the Knockouts match, or, yeah, for the Knockouts match, as they went to a commercial break, and then when it came back, it was the start of the second hour, and we had the Knockouts match. So, if you want to get technical, you could kind of say we had 2.5 matches, but I'm just going to say 2 matches for 1 hour. I really wasn't too keen on that, but I understand how TNA is operating with some of these shows that they're doing, as a lot of these shows that we're seeing, they're taping back to back. So, they got to do what they can to make sure that the roster, stamina, fatigue-wise, it isn't being severely exhausted, so they can get through these tapings, rest up a day or two, or at least a handful of hours, do the next batch and all that. I would definitely want to get to some TNA wrestling headlines for you guys. Not really too much has been happening since last we were on the air with you all. I don't know if you all have heard about the black teenager Michael Brown that was killed out in St. Louis. Um, I'm I'm still gathering information and thoughts and everything. I'm not going to be talking about it this weekend, but I will next week on our radio edition of the RCWR show. But I'm bringing it up because MVP had actually packed himself a bag, and he actually headed on down to go help out with the victims' parents and all that. He's looking to march and protest and speak his piece on that. I think that's a really cool, kick-ass gesture from MVP. It says a lot about his character. I'm a little bit surprised that there's not really that many wrestling websites that's reporting on this. Not even our good friends over at TNA Insider are talking about this move, at least far as from what I was able to see. I could be wrong. I'll definitely go back and check. And if I'm incorrect, I'll put an annotation or something up on here letting you guys know. But from what I'm able to see, there's really not that many wrestling websites that's talking about this really act of just the ultimate stand up and represent, and what's been a really crazy week, which, by the way, we got a quick programming note to tell you about when this is all said and done. Also, it looks as though TNA has officially canceled 2 live events scheduled to be held in Oklahoma and in Kansas in late September. They had made the announcement, claimed that the cancellations were due to unforeseen scheduling conflicts. Now, PW Insider is reporting that TNA has canceled the events in order to film more Impact Wrestling tapings in New York City. TNA is currently working with the UTA promotion to work on their live event strategy. UTA will be looking at the presentation of the shows as well. So, you know, what started off as a novelty act, what started off as a special treat, is now looking to become something consistent. And I'm not really sure if it's a very smart move for TNA Wrestling to be looking to do more of these events. Yeah, it's costing a lot of money, which, by the way, I love the reference that Mike Tenay had made when Ethan Carter was seen throwing cash at the police officers, and Mike Tenay had said, when will the Carters realize that they just can't throw their money at problems and think it'll go away? And I actually put a tweet out there. I said, way to leave yourself open for a bunch of jokes, guys. I mean, come on, put some freaking common sense in there. Then again, they may have done that on purpose just so they can get a little bit of social media activity. You never know. But, you know, them doing New York, at first I thought it was, you know, really, really cool. And I'm not crapping on it, so don't get on me now. I'm just making a very valid point. I just don't want for the New York crowd to backfire on TNA. That's just my whole fear, because if this is, picture it like this, if the end result is going to be TNA performing in New York City on like a permanent basis, okay, then you really got to step it up, because this New York crowd, they've seen practically everything. You know, that's the mecca, one of the meccas at that, of pro wrestling. You know, a best analogy I can think of, it's like, and this is a good analogy, you guys will definitely feel me on this one. How many of you are familiar with the new Lay's potato chips that's out? It was created by, I think, Matt Allen. It is macaroni and cheese with bacon Lay's potato chips. That's the flavor. I'm not saying all that is in there. That's just the flavor. All right? This is the best analogy. It's like you have it that first time. You're like, damn, these Lay's are like, they kick ass. This is like the best damn chips I've ever tasted. Damn, you know, makes me want to make some mac and cheese and some bacon and all that. But then the more and more you keep going back to those chips, you kind of realize, you know what? It doesn't have that same flavor that it had the first 2-3 times. It doesn't have that zest. It doesn't have that wow. You know, it doesn't have that excitement. Now it's just kind of typical. So what happens when that occurs, folks? What are you going to do usually? You're usually going to scale back on those chips, and you're going to kind of treat it as a little bit of a novelty act. I remember I was at the grocery store with a buddy of mine the other day, and I said, dude, when was the last time you had Doritos? We both just started thinking about it. It's like, when was the last time you had Doritos? And he was like, God, I got to be in a rare mode for Doritos. I say, yeah, same here, man. It's like I used to love Doritos, but now I can't stand the taste. It's like very rare I will go to that. That's basically how it is with these New York City shows. I just don't want for a scenario to happen where TNA Wrestling, it's like they keep coming out there, and after a while, the buzz just kind of dies down. Ticket sales aren't what they used to be. They're not sold out, and it's like half empty arena. I just don't want all that. Could it happen? It may not happen, but I just hope that if they're gonna continue to keep doing these shows in New York, that they continue to have that high level of standards be there, and that they either meet it or they make it be a #1 priority to excel that line that they have. You know, always do better than what you did before. Now, they seem to be going off on a really good streak with these shows that we've been seeing the past several weeks. I can't wait to see how they do these next batch of shows that they've already done earlier this month, which, again, we probably won't be seeing until maybe mid to late September, maybe early October. But, of course, the biggest news that's going on right now with Impact Wrestling is Alberto Del Rio. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. Well, take this with a grain of salt, but it's being said that TNA Wrestling is seriously interested in acquiring the services of former WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. There is even possibly a pitch to maybe want to make him the TNA World Heavyweight Champion. Now, look, I don't think we need to put two and two together. Those of you that's been following wrestling news and all that, this is common sense. TNA has always made some type of move for somebody that was with the WWE. And TNA is saying to themselves, you know what? This guy's got a great look, got a fan base. We could actually do something with this person. Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me one little bit if they have tried to maybe reach out to him and try to see if they could get some type of a deal going on with him. I'm sure he is definitely a very hot commodity right about now. But take everything that you're hearing with him and TNA wrestling and take all that with a grain of salt, man, please. Biggest news that is coming out this week is TNA Wrestling is making their move to Wednesday nights effective August 20th of next week. And again, if you have not checked out our breaking news coverage of that, where I go in depth about why it's a smart move and why this could very well be TNA's last attempt to try to perhaps secure a deal with Spike. Check it out when you get done with this. What I will say is that it's been a pleasure to do Impact Showdown for you guys here for the past 2 years. We started off, actually, no, we've done Impact Showdown a little bit longer than that. We first started Impact Showdown as the Thursday night edition of the RCWR show, and it was our radio edition. And we would come on and we'd cover Fallout from Impact, and then eventually I had decided that, okay, you know what, the show needs its own standout identity, and that's pretty much how Impact Showdown was morphed, or that's pretty much, how we came up with the name and all that. And actually, I can't even remember how I came up with the name. I think I was just sitting down, I was just writing some stuff on a piece of paper, drawing out some logos, and I just said, okay, well, what about Impact Showdown? And Impact Showdown, I was like, okay, copyright, trademarked it, I'm good to go. So, we started doing radio editions of it, or we continue to do radio editions of it. And then eventually, I think it was earlier this year, we had made the move to go from radio to live web show. Because a lot of you guys were like, can we see you in the flesh? We want to know how you look, blah, 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 and all that good stuff. And it's been fun. It's been fun doing it. I mean, I'm actually a little bit sad that we're going to be moving to Wednesday nights now. Originally, I wasn't going to do it. Originally, I was not. I was just going to continue to have Impact Showdown come on Thursday nights. But at the same time, it's like, okay, the odds of the TNA fans coming to check us out on Thursday nights when they could be devoting that time maybe watching a football game, a basketball game, or whatever, that kind of really made my decision final as far as moving the show to Wednesday nights. So some of you guys, you may look at this as a bad move because maybe you have a lot of free time on Thursdays. That's your time to maybe check us out or whatever. Look at it like this. Even if you can't check us out on Wednesdays, you can always come back here, whether it be on YouTube or Spreaker, as we also try to have the radio versions of this be available. You can still pop up at the usual time, and you can watch the episodes in its entirety, complete, fast forward if you like, all that good stuff, But I hope that you'll definitely will join us on our new nights, still here on YouTube. We'll just be coming on Wednesday nights, 11 p.m. Eastern, pretty much as soon as Impact Wrestling goes off the air here on the East Coast. So I do hope that you all are able to join us. It's going to be a fun ride, and I'm definitely am pumped up and looking to see the next chapter of the TNA Wrestling promotion here, because I'm telling you, man, the content they've been doing as of late, I'm really trying to get behind them. If I did not believe in the product at all, if I had no faith in it, if I did not feel that it was worth the time, the hassle, to move the show to Wednesday nights, I wouldn't be doing it. And I think that really says a lot about us trying to stay consistent and try to stay loyal to the TNA product because and I'm not bitching, okay? But if we're being for real, I'm kind of putting my health um, on the line in regards to this because, that's three consecutive shows now that I have to do back to back Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Heaven forbid there's a pay per view on a Sunday, then I'm going to be going 4 consecutive nights and I'm not really going to have time to rest given how the current layout is right now, where I can do a Monday, Tuesday, skip Wednesday, do Thursday, don't come back till Saturday, off till Monday, unless there's a pay per view. If even if it's a pay per view, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, not so bad. But now it's like going to be definitely more consistent. So, and as my family always say to me, you need to get more rest. You need to get more rest, and easier said than done. Let's get to you guys' comments right now. I'm very curious what you all had thought about tonight's Impact Wrestling. I'm going to pull up you all's comments. And as we're doing that right now, do me a huge favor, please. If you're enjoying this episode, definitely go out of your way to make sure you give this piece a thumbs up. Leave those comments down below. You can also share this a number of ways, all right? And if you haven't checked out our radio edition of the RCWR show, it's very easy to do so. We're on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, TuneIn, Blog Talk, Stitcher, my God, we're everywhere. All the links are in the episode description for this very episode, so check it out when you guys get a chance. All right, let's see what you guys have to say. Hey, we made a milestone, I see, by the way. We have finally broke the 8,000 subscriber mark. How about that? We're like a little bit less than 2,000 away from getting 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. We owe that to you guys. Give yourselves a good pat on the back, man. Thank you all for continuing to check us out here on a weekly basis. We appreciate it. All right, let's see what we got here. Carnivore, they were chanting better than the Divas during the Knockouts match. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. The WWE chants for Rose, Zayn, etc. annoyed me too. Seems they were all WWE fans. No wonder they were chanting "This is awesome" before some of the matches even really got good the past few weeks. They're so used to WWE. I mean, most fans watch both, but how often do you see WWE-style chants during a TNA show? I know, that's exactly what I was saying, dude. It's like, when was the last time you were watching WWE SmackDown and, like, you heard a section of fans go, AJ Styles, or Samoa Joe, or Joe is gonna kill you. It's like, very weird, man. Very weird. Joel, what's up, Joel? Hey, nice dog in the picture, man. You gotta tell me what kind of dog that is. Is that it's not a Rottweiler. You gotta tell me what kind of breed that is. Looks pretty cool. Great show tonight. TNA has really been bringing it lately. Yeah. Max, man, what a match between the Hardy Boys and the Dudleys. Great match. It was like watching a flashback to the early matches. Lee, do you think TNA will let Team 3D or the Hardys become the tag champions anytime soon? The X Division match was okay. It was very predictable that Low Key won. Other than that, the rest of the show was okay. All right, so let's just go back and filter out your question there. Do I think TNA will let Team 3D or the Hardys become tag champions anytime soon? It all depends on how many dates Devon, Matt Hardy, they've agreed to do for TNA Wrestling. We told you guys a long time ago. I'm not sure how it is with Devon, But in regards to Matt Hardy, TNA originally, when they were getting ready to do these New York City shows, they made a bid. They made a very nice, generous offer to Matt Hardy to come back, do the New York City shows. He declined. TNA then came back with a second set of numbers that was definitely doable for Matt Hardy. He said, okay, all right, let's do it. So I don't know if Matt Hardy has just signed on specifically just to do these New York shows or what have you. One thing we should note, he is still the Maryland Pro Wrestling Champion. He still has a lot to do with that promotion. He's still doing independent bookings, things of that nature. So I'm not really sure right now. I mean, honestly, if Matt Hardy and Devon are still around by, I would say, honestly, if they're still around past Bound for Glory, maybe. Maybe we could see one of those teams be champions again. Very well possible. When is Dixie Carter off television? Well, she was off television tonight, John. I mean, and for those of you that's curious, Dixie Carter injury update. We gotta make sure we hook you guys up with that because we did put that in the title description of this episode. Storyline-wise, or maybe it's legit, who knows? But let's just go with the story angle-wise for now. They're saying that Dixie Carter had messed up her spine, L2, L3, and sections and all that. And apparently Mike Tenay is going to be having a exclusive interview with the TNA president on next week's Hardcore Justice event where she will address her physical status and I guess whether or not we're going to be seeing her return again to the TNA brand. Jock. I guess putting Dixie Carter through a table is Bully Ray's way of saying, you messed up big time, Dixie, by letting talented guys like Jay Lethal go. Also let schmucks like Garrett Bischoff be part of a faction that was going nowhere and do nothing but kill TV time and ratings for TNA and Dixie Carter. Hell, she even let the Bromans become tag champions. I could just go in a completely different direction with that, but I just don't feel like going there because I do want to bring up one point that I want to talk to you guys about. I'm going to take a few seconds as I'm reading the next comment to figure out if we're going to talk about that or not right here. Ramon, hey Lee, do you think Impact moving to Wednesday nights is a move to avoid going head-to-head with SmackDown moving to Thursdays? Because let's be real, no one watches WWE Superstars. I answered this question earlier for about 20 minutes. I looked at every single possible angle that there is with TNA Wrestling moving to Wednesday nights. If you guys, at your own leisure, go check it out and you can, post your comments on that piece. You can either agree or disagree. If you disagree, definitely let me know why you're disagreeing, as it's really cool to kick back and have nice little friendly debates. It's good that we don't agree on every single thing, One thing that I want to bring up to you guys, and I definitely want to talk about this as we get ready to wrap up the show. And I definitely want to get you all's input on this, and we'll actually follow up on what you all have to say, maybe on next there I go, I almost caught myself, on next Wednesday's Impact Showdown. When the spot had initially happened with Dixie Carter going through the table and all that, after we did Impact Showdown, I was kicking back and I was pretty much remixing the audio for folks to check out on the downloads and all. I came across a very interesting post on Facebook. I'm not going to mention this person's name because I don't want you guys to hit them up and bash them and everything like that. But this is a legitimate post. What I can do for those of you that doubt this, I'll block out her name It was a female that said this. I'll block out her name and I'll post it on the Facebook page and you can see it for yourself. But a young woman said this after she watched Impact Wrestling last week, saw Dixie Carter going through the table. The seriousness in my tone should give you a hint in the direction that this girl is going to be going with this. Ready? Here we go. I watched your show for the first time tonight. I was truly disturbed that you promote abuse on a woman by a man. Allowing a man to body slam a woman through a table is disgusting. You have men and boys watching your show. As role models, you should be ashamed of yourself. This is domestic violence in its truest form. You allowing this on your show is you telling all mankind that abuse on women is acceptable. As a role model, is this something you should be showing to the youth that watches your show? I think not. And, it was kind of interesting seeing some of the comments that had came in. That's all I'm going to say. I'll let you guys read the comments that came in for this person. Now, if you want to comment, I'll do a second go around. I'll get your input. I'm only going to talk about this for a couple of minutes because I don't want to go into overtime like that. We've already been on for an hour. Let's see if we can be done before 12:30 East Coast time. Look, for the longest time, wrestling was one of those type of fields of sports entertainment where it was men only. You had women like the fabulous Moolah, Mae Young. They came in and they basically said, look, we love wrestling. We want to wrestle too. We can do it just as good as the guys. We want to prove that women should have a place in women's in the wrestling business. And you know what? Because of women like them that paved the way, is why we're in a position now where you practically see almost with every single wrestling promotion that's out there, whether it be major or independent, why there is some type of portion of these wrestling promotions, as far as their matches go, that's dedicated to having females wrestle. Now, when China first came to the scene back in the WWF, she won so many girls over, where the guys looked at her as some type of a freak. They looked at her as maybe a transsexual or whatever like that. You actually had young girls that were just mouths just open, and they're like, wow, she is freaking badass. Who the hell is she? They were inspired by her tremendously. I know this because my best friend for like over, my God, 20-something years, Ebony, she was really inspired by China. So much so that when she looked at China and she saw China, fighting the men and all that, she said, you know what? I want to be like China. If China can do what she's doing there, she's really proven to me that women can have a place in the wrestling business, taking on the men. And she trained, and I've told the story many times. I don't really want to go overkill and bore you guys to death, but for those of you that don't know, I actually had helped train her. Back in my day, I used to be serious in the bodybuilding. So we both were like, we were so on point. At one point, we had actually talked about maybe becoming trainers for like celebrities, and we just BSing around and all that. But I remember putting video packages together for her, staying up until like 5 in the morning working on the freaking video package that she could send off to some executive hotshots in the WWE for them to take a look and possibly give her a call and all that. And all because she had saw China. She saw her massive frame. She saw how she was going in there and she was going to the faces of the dudes and all that. She was loving it. It's interesting how women's wrestling has evolved over the past 20 years because if you remember wrestling promotions like Women's Extreme Wrestling or WEW, GI Ho, and all them other crazy little women down there, it was really kind of treated very degraded, like it was just nothing but TNA, literally. Um, Even ECW was kind of, to a certain extent, you could say a little bit maybe degrading on the women. WCW kind of had it a little bit classy with their Nitro girls, just a little bit, and I use that term loosely. But you see where women's wrestling is today, where you got great promotions like Shine, Shimmer, WSU. They're really holding it down, and there's so many great women that have, I felt, done the term wrestling justice. They have really gone out there and proved that in this day and age, women do deserve to not only wrestle, but they do deserve to have some type of physical interactions with their male counterparts. So, in regards to seeing this spot that had came about with Dixie Carter from last week, do I look at this as a form of abuse on women? Do I look at this as a form of promoting abuse to women? No, and no, I don't. However, I got to be the advocate here, got to play devil's advocate. I will say this. I think Spike TV, along with TNA Wrestling, they should have put up some type of a disclaimer before this segment had aired. Basically, when they took their last commercial break and they were getting ready to come on, a message should have popped up, and you should have had a narrator come up and say, warning, the following segment is going to show, physical harm coming to a female from a male. This is, these people are portraying characters. They are paid actors. They are trained stunt professionals. This is a story angle. Please do not try this at home. They really should have done, if there's ever a time, just so they can cross all their P's and Q's with people like this young woman right here, they definitely should have put up that little disclaimer. Now, for those of you that say, well, Lee, they don't really need to do that because it's Spike TV. On the contrary, like when 1,000 Ways to Die would come on, if you're watching on, I think, is it Thursday nights? I actually got the TV right here. Let me see if it's actually on Thursday nights. They do it. Yep. World's Wildest Police Chases. Usually you see some type of a disclaimer, that says you're looking at some graphic stuff, blah, 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 all that crap. So I do feel in my heart of hearts that they should have done something like that. Um, you know, that's all I'm going to say with regards to that. That's the only thing I think TNA Spike TV did wrong. And then afterwards, if they really wanted to make sure they avoid this type of press, which honestly, I don't think anybody cares, because your typical wrestling fan can separate reality from that which isn't reality. Okay? So I think it's a very good argument that she's making, but it comes up a little bit short in a couple of areas. What do you guys think with regards to that? Definitely get those comments down below. I particularly am very curious from you females, and I know we have females that check us out on the regular. I definitely want to know what you have to say with regards to that. Do you feel 100% in your heart of hearts that what I read from this young woman, that she makes very valid points, or do you maybe kind of agree with me that TNA was fine to do the spot? They just should have had some type of a disclaimer up. I'll even go a step further. Maybe they should have released a press release that day that the episode was going to be premiering, and letting parents know what they were going to be seeing, and that, if they did not want their kids to see it, that the segment would be coming on at exactly blah 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 time. You may want to send your kids to bed or whatever. I mean, there's usually ways you can get around stuff like what's happening right here with this individual. And there's no telling. She probably wasn't the only one. There was probably many more people that looked at this and they thought it was very disgusting, what was going on. I think it's kind of funny that we can pinpoint this, but Stone Cold Steve Austin pointing a gun storyline-wise, again, we got to make sure that we stress what was going on with Dixie Carter going through the table from Bully Ray was storyline, but with Stone Cold Steve Austin pointing a gun at Vince McMahon's head in the middle of a ring, as Vince McMahon pissed on his pants. I don't really recall a bunch of people moaning and groaning about that segment and crying foul and all this other stuff, even after it was revealed that the gun was fake. I don't know. It is what it is. Let's refresh comments one more time, see what you guys have to say. Hey, we did good. I didn't even go that long on the piece, so that's good. Let's see what we got here. Philip, sup Lee? Think it's great that TNA Impact is moving to Wednesday nights. Do you think that SmackDown might be moving back to Thursdays as well? Well, we already talked about what's going on with SmackDown. Check out our radio edition of the RCWR show when you get a chance. Carlos, this is just a show. She shouldn't be offended. Plus, most of the people who watches TNA are male adults. Keep those comments coming. I definitely want to know what you guys think with regards to what we just talked about right there. But Carlos, good words right there. And I think on that note, we'll end it. Oh, well, wait a minute. I see something on Twitter. Reza, what's up? Just so listeners know, the August 6th NYC taping is airing September 11th. Thank you for that. Okay, so again, the August 6th New York City taping that was done last week. That will not be airing until September 11th. So beginning September 11th on, we'll be getting to see what came about with those New York City shows from earlier this month. So that's good to know. Thank you for that, Ramon. Appreciate it, man. And that is going to do it. All right, so look, real quickly, we're doing a very special tribute show Saturday at 9 p.m. Eastern over on Spreaker. It's going to be me and it's going to be Tammy. We are going to be dedicating about an hour, maybe 90 minutes max. We're going to be reflecting on the life of Robin Williams. I'm sure, as you all know, he tragically had passed away at the age of 63. It looks like it was an apparent suicide. We're just going to try to offer reflections on his life and his great body of work that he left behind. And we're also going to take a look at new developments that has been happening. So we'll have the very latest on that show. So make sure you check it out. We're also going to go in depth about cyber trolling. As unfortunately, Robin Williams' daughter Zelda Williams, she was a victim of trolling, as some very sick individuals had sent her photoshopped images of what appeared to be her deceased father in the morgue, naked. And you guys could only imagine how traumatized she was when she had saw that. And now she's saying that she's probably not going to be coming back on Twitter again, or any form of social media for that matter. So we're definitely going to be talking about that. Those of you young parents out there, your kids are are at that age now where they're, messing around with social media and all that. We're definitely going to be talking about trolling online and offer you ways of filtering things out so you can avoid uh, having your kid be put in situations like that and everything. But it's going to be a really great special. Make sure you join us for that. Everything is just going to be tied into a Robin Williams tribute when it's all said and done. So join us for that, 9 p.m. Eastern on Spreaker. All right, links are in the episode description. For all the very latest in wrestling news and beyond, be kind, rewind. We've got episodes for you all to check out on the downloads. Also here on our YouTube channel. If it's your first time checking us out, love to have you subscribe to us so you never miss out on all the great content we do for you here on a weekly basis. All right, guys, that is going to do it. Remember, August 20th, that's a Wednesday, and beginning every single Wednesday from here on out, Impact Showdown, still here on YouTube, but Wednesdays, 11 p.m. Eastern, after Impact Wrestling goes off the air. So do not forget. And if you're following us on Twitter or Facebook, we'll definitely give you those reminders big time. That is going to do it. A very good night, good morning. Wish all y'all to be safe. Most importantly, be kind to one another. We'll see you next go around. Everybody, take care.